Hello my friends and welcome back to Dragon Age Inquisition. In yesterday's video we returned to the Storm Coast, cleared out a small section of the map, made camp, and almost died by a dragon. That was fun. In today's video we are back in Haven and my goals are to run through the dialogue wheel for both Vivienne and Blackwall. I keep wanting to call her Viviana for some reason. Anyway, let's get started talking to Vivienne and see how this all goes.
You've never been to a circle as far as I can tell, yet you're remarkably skilled. Were you self-taught?
Yeah, let's just go with, well, let's say I had help, because I probably did.
Another tal-vashoth Cerebos trained me.
I had heard that magic practiced by the Kunarian tal-vashoth was formidable, but I never had the chance to observe it myself. In my own experience, nothing is more deadly to a young mage than a lack of knowledge, which makes the current state of things precarious. What do you imagine will happen if the circles are not restored? Do you foresee the Dalish taking us all under their wing?
Probably not. Let's see, we need the circles restored. The Templars made their beds. Mages should be free. Justice is all that matters. The chaos harms everyone, and the rebels are apostates. Well, I do think the chaos harms everyone. Let's go with that.
The war benefits no one. It must end, and order must be restored.
If only the rebels saw things so clearly. Justinia's death has shattered the balance of power in Thedas. If it is not restored quickly, countless lives will be lost. Mages, Templars, innocent people of all kinds now look to the Inquisition to decide their fate.
And you'll help decide? I mean, obviously. Their fate is in their hands. I'll do all I can. Ugh, none of these are very good options, I don't think. Well, let's go with and you'll help decide.
That's why you wanted to be here. To have a hand in deciding that fate.
Wouldn't you? For almost 1,000 years, the world believed it was in the hands of the Maker. And now many believe you are the agent of his will. Whatever the truth is, that belief gives you power.
No one should have that power. Andraste chose me. The chantry will be restored. I'll use it to change things. I don't think anyone should have that power. I feel like Theron's the guy who's like, this is all an accident. I'm not supposed to be here today.
Nobody should claim to know the will of the Maker. Not me, and not the Chantry.
Perhaps nobody should. But if no one leads the way, many will be left behind in darkness. I've stolen enough of your time, my dear. Don't let me keep you.
She's so charming. Like, I feel like she's just gonna manipulate me, but I'm kind of okay with it because she's so charming. Anyway.
Yes?
Let's ask our let's get it to a good angle first. All right, that's just going to be it. Tell me about the circle.
I wanted to ask you about the Circle of Magi.
Of course. What do you wish to know?
Well, tell me about the Templars.
You must have an opinion of the Templars after living so long in the Circle.
Having opinions about Templars, my dear, is exactly like having opinions about mages or Navarrans or men. I have known some who were impossible to endure, and some who were utterly charming. I have suffered insults at the hands of those in the armor, but no more than I endured from nobles or tradesmen in Val Royaux. Personally, I have found the Templars a useful tool, skilled at keeping more unpleasant elements at bay.
Fair enough. I do like the fact that she points out that they're just people. There's some good and some bad, like everybody else. Wasn't the circle disbanded? Question mark.
If the Circle disbanded, how can you still belong to it?
The circle is an idea, my dear, and an idea cannot be dissolved. Many of the first enchanters voted for rebellion, caring little that anything short of a unanimous decision would pit mage against mage.
Yeah.
Rather than dissolving it, Grand Enchanter Fiona's vote split the circle in two. The rebels follow her. The loyalists follow me.
Interesting. So, shouldn't you replace Fiona?
If you lead all the Loyalists, why are you only First Enchanter and not Grand Enchanter?
Grand Enchanters are elected, and since there are no First Enchanters besides myself, no vote can be held. I could name myself Grand Enchanter, but the title holds no meaning now. When the circles are restored, that will change.
Okay, what was Circle life like?
What was it like to live in a circle?
My dear, your question is the root of all problems with mages. I cannot tell you. Every circle was different. Their Templars were different, their politics unique. And every person within each tower had an experience of circle life unique to themselves. Some people suffered and some were content. Some were cruel, some compassionate, and some indifferent. The same is true of people everywhere, in all circumstances, whether they are mages or not.
Well, what about your experience then?
So, tell me about your personal experience with the circle.
I enjoyed life in the Montsimard Circle, my dear. It was an edifice devoted to knowledge and refinement. And there is comfort to be had, you know, in the company of fellow mages. Those born without magic will never truly understand us.
Fair enough. Was confinement hard?
You must have been under constant supervision, being forced by Templars to live in the tower. Was that hard to endure?
My dear, I have a suite in the palace and a wing at my dear Duke Bastien's estate. I've never been forced to live anywhere. Most circles allowed mages to live away from the tower, either on their own or in service to the nobility. All that was required was permission from the First Enchanter. Some circles were harsher in their restrictions. Kirkwall was the worst, but it was the exception. Most were quite permissive, perhaps too permissive in retrospect.
Well, it does make more sense because you could see in Dragon Age Origins, mages were just all over the place, like running experiments, doing errands. Wynne could just kind of come and go as she pleased a little bit, especially afterwards. So it does make sense for her to explain that Kirkwall was the worst, the most constrictive of all of them. But then again, not all of them have suites and palaces and wings at their, your lovers' estates and whatnot. I'm sure there are lots who are never going to experience that. So her experience is going to no doubt be an extreme from the majority.
How did we come to this state where the circle's in revolt?
A failure of perspective that infected Circle leadership. Mages lived solely in a world of Templars and mages. They could not even imagine what was beyond the tower walls. Kirkwall gave the world a reason to remember its fear of magic. A mage killed hundreds with a snap of their fingers. Across Thedas, a new tangible fear of magic grew. Commoners and nobles alike called out to the Chantry for protection. But the malcontents in the towers thought nothing of this. They cared only for themselves and for their anger at the new Templar restrictions. When a mage attempted to assassinate Divine Justinia, again, the mages protested the investigation. The leadership chose to vote on independence based on the intolerable conditions imposed by the Templars, sparing no thought to the fact that magic was more feared in the aftermath of these attacks than it had been since Tevinter's day. So long as they had their freedom, they could care little for riots, angry mobs, or about pitting mages against each other.
Interesting. It's interesting to see a different side of the rebellion. Ones who are like, this isn't going to fix things, guys. So, do you know Fiona? I imagine she does.
Are you familiar with Grand Enchanter Fiona?
We've met. Before her horrendously ill-timed and selfish vote for independence, I thought her adequate at her job. In her dotage, she could not handle looking after the well-being of so many people. We would have done better to replace her years ago, to let her spend time gardening.
That's just plain mean, Vivienne. Were they justified? I'm assuming Theron's referring to the rebel mages.
Did they have cause to rebel?
In the aftermath of their terrorist attacks? Was that really the most opportune time to break away? By all means, protest abuses by the Templars. Just don't do it in a way that says mages support wholesale murder. By voting when they did, my colleagues all but declared war upon the ordinary people of Thedas. A war in which we are outnumbered 100 to 1.
Yeah, it just doesn't look good, I guess. Optics, I think. Mages are fighting mages. Sounds like it.
I thought the fighting was only between mages and Templars. Why are mages fighting mages?
The vote for independence was carried by only a small margin, but Fiona chose to let the motion stand. Those who opposed a rash declaration of war against the entire free world had little choice.
Yeah.
By breaking from the Chantry when they did, the rebels declared themselves in support of mass murder. Anyone who did not wish to support terrorism and the slaughter of innocents was forced to take arms against the rebels.
It is interesting because we've run into at least a couple so far between mages, well, definitely a couple mages and at least one Templar who didn't agree with the rebellion on either side. Like, what, who liked being in the circle, a Templar who thought their job was to protect mages, not slaughter them. So it's nice to get an alternative perspective, especially coming from Dragon Age 2, where all you saw was Templars being mean to mages and, really identifying solely with mages, unless, I don't know. Anyway, tell me about yourself.
I'd like to know more about you, Madame Vivienne.
Whatever would you like to know?
Well, where are you from?
Your accent's not Orlesian. Where exactly are you from?
I am from the Circle, my dear. One's country of origin rarely matters there. But if you must know, I was born in Wycombe in the Free Marches. I was sent to the Ostwick Circle, but I transferred to Monsignor while still an apprentice.
How did you become a courtier?
I'm curious how a Circle mage winds up a courtier.
Nobody winds up at court, my dear. It takes a great deal of effort to arrive there. I caught the eye of Duke Bastien de Ghislaine, an advantageous connection that opened many doors. When the position of Enchanter to the Imperial Court became vacant, I was able to secure it.
You married a duke. Did she marry him?
You're married to the Duke de Ghislaine?
Of course not, my dear. Don't be ridiculous. Marriage is the business of alliance and inheritance.
Okay.
I'm Bastien's mistress.
I thought so. I thought someone mentioned that. What does his wife think?
And what does the Duchess de Ghislaine think of this arrangement?
We got along quite well. Duchess Nicoline and I used to host musical salons together. She was a great patron of the arts. She passed away from a fever a few years ago, the poor dear.
I roll my eyes, rich people. Okay, nobility. What is a court enchanter?
What duties does a court enchanter have?
I am tasked with providing assistance to the Empress on arcane matters. Most of my predecessors restricted this to lighting lamps and doing parlor tricks. In such troubled times as these, however, I provide political advice to Her Majesty on the subject of the Mage Rebellion.
Well, let's say I want to help the Circle. Maybe this is sort of a questy thing for her?
Is there anything I can do to help your efforts at restoring the Circle?
After the Circles fell, their libraries were plundered by scavengers. 1,000 years of recorded knowledge in the hands of bandits. It makes me sick to think of it. I've received news that some tomes have been located, if you are interested in righting this wrong.
Sure, I can help find them.
I'll look into it for you.
If you can take care of this matter, the Circle would be in your debt.
Favors for first enchanter. Let's look at that one. Vivienne wishes to undo the damage done to her beloved Circle of Magi and hopefully restore it to its former relevance. Recovering phylacteries and tomes lost with the fall of the Circles will help. So is it Hinterlands, Western Approach, Exalted Plains? Okay, I know I could go the Hinterlands. I don't know about the rest, but I've run the full gamut with Vivienne. Very interesting conversations. Like I think I probably said already, it's nice to get an alternative perspective of, no, the Circles weren't all bad. And we've been getting that from a couple mages so far who didn't want to be part of the rebellion. One is specifically Maeve, who liked being in the Circle. So it's interesting. I feel like Vivienne, there's more to it than that, but yeah. So here's my
safely.
Stables. Before I go talk to Blackwall, he's right down here. I saw him earlier when I was wandering around. So what happens when I click? Oh, this is what they were talking about. Oh my goodness. So many mounts to find. Mountain Dracolisk. Where's the one? Hearts. Okay. Exotics. The Bog Unicorn. Oh my god. What on earth? That is so... That's really scary. I can't do it. That's really weird. There's a thing right through their head. Oh my gosh, that's really scary. Okay, let's just go back to horses. Prospect Mountains, Asarash. Fast and resilience, used by the Canary. I'm a Canary. That horse looks like it can't see where it's going. But it looks very Canary. Alright, well, we'll just, whatever. It's not that big a deal. You two have anything new to say?
I'm glad there are big, strong men around in case anything happens here in Haven.
Now, don't you worry about that sort of thing, girl.
Oh, this girl's always over here chatting him up. All right, well, let's quick save again and talk to Blackwall.
Make her look at it. So much easier to ignore when it's far away.
Right?
And to actually walk out of it. To be that close.
You could get closer. It was nothing. I'm going to go with I was lucky, because I think I was.
If I hadn't been saved by Inquisition soldiers, I don't know what would have happened.
Inquisition soldiers? That's not what I've heard. I have to admit, I thought you'd be...
Human.
Yes.
Well, at least you're honest.
Being upfront is better than Oxman.
It was a foolish thought. Should have known better than to say anything. It's what you do and how you do it that's important. Just one question then. How do you think you fit in with all this?
Some worship me. I like that. I mean, I guess you could go that route. I'm not sure yet. I just want peace, but I'm not really sure how I'm going to fit into this in the big scheme of things.
It's been a whirlwind. It's hard to say where I fit.
I guess we'll have to figure that out. For me, I'll be satisfied so long as we find the bastards that killed the Divine. They owe us some answers.
And maybe find the Wardens too, because you're a Warden and you should want to know where they went. All right, hang on, dude, don't walk away. Don't walk away from me.
I've heard rumors of abandoned Warden camps all over these parts. If we have time, I'd like to take a look, see if there's anything we can salvage.
Sure, but let me get a better angle.
Nothing right now. Perhaps in a bit.
Oh, Memories of the Grey. Let's look at that. Hang on. Blackwall possessed maps that chart old Warden camps and outposts throughout Ferelden and Orlais. The Wardens who abandoned these camps may have left behind artifacts of interest to Blackwall. Emprise de Lyon, Falomir, Western Approach, Hinterlands, and the Storm Coast. Okay. Well, let's come over here and talk to Blackwall.
Yes?
We're like super close. Oh, but a good angle. Great. Well, tell me about the Wardens, because Theron knows nothing.
Let's talk about the Grey Wardens. You must know a lot about them.
Ah, the Wardens. I'm afraid we're less exciting than we seem.
What do the Wardens do?
The Blight's been over for 10 years. What do Wardens do when the world's not ending?
There is still Darkspawn. Just because we killed so many in Ferelden doesn't mean they're gone. And the world is not so peaceful that there's no use for good men with swords. Sometimes you have to figure out for yourself what the pledge to protect others really means. It's not always about just archdemons and blights.
So your role in the Blight. Well, I mean, it seems obvious, but we'll ask it.
Where were you during the Blight?
Oh, his
I was
role.
in Ferelden. On my own, like always. Quietly killed my fair share of Darkspawn too.
But... okay, that doesn't seem right, because wouldn't you have been called to Ostagar and died with the rest? Doesn't make sense, but okay. Why were you traveling alone?
You haven't had contact with other Wardens for a while. Why were you on your own?
It's what I've always done. Recruitment only requires one man. Besides, I've always been a loner. Works best for everyone that way.
Oh. Where have the wardens gone? Didn't he say he doesn't know, but we'll ask it anyway.
So you have no idea where the rest of the wardens are?
Do you find that odd? The Blight is over. We don't need an organized force. And orders don't change much from day to day. For the last 1,000 years or so, it's been just find Darkspawn, kill them, repeat as necessary.
Why did he just call me Inquisitor? That doesn't make any sort of sense, but okay. Let's talk about you.
I want to hear more about you.
Compared to yours, my life will seem dull indeed.
Where are you from?
Your name Blackwall doesn't sound Orlesian. Marcher, then? Ferelden?
I was from the Free Marchers originally. Markham. That was a long time ago. Another life.
So you have a past. I'm assuming that's a special. Yep.
I hear that many wardens were once criminals.
You're right. And when you join, your past is forgotten, so let's leave it that way.
That's fine. Theron, don't be rude. You weren't always a warden.
What did you do before you became a warden?
I was a soldier, a nobody trained to wield a sword and follow orders. I grew weary of fighting other men's wars.
So you became a warden?
More or less. Becoming a Grey Warden was the first time I felt like I mattered. The life I led before seems hollow in comparison. Perhaps one day it will fade away.
Why did you become a warden?
Why did you join the wardens?
Because they remember honor and sacrifice. Words that have little meaning to the rest of us. Because they lay down their lives for those they have sworn to protect. We all need to believe there are such men in the world. I needed to believe I could be one of them.
Your thoughts on the Inquisition?
What do you think of the Inquisition?
I expected more. More men, better equipment. You may have Andraste's favor, but wars are won by men, soldiers.
Why war at all? Wars are won in many ways. That's obvious. Well, I'm gonna go with the second option, I think.
Brute force is not always the answer. There are plenty of other paths to victory.
True enough. Still, it never hurts to be prepared. One thing I will say about your men. They're passionate, devoted. You inspire them. Build on that foundation, and you will have an army that makes nations tremble.
Oh, wow. Lots of them. Thoughts on my inner circle?
You must have some feelings about our friends.
Have you seen the stories Varric's been writing? His descriptions of me are colorful, to say the least.
Let's try that again.
You must have some feelings about our friends.
Sarah doesn't know who she is or what she wants, and doesn't even care.
Let's try that one again, one more time.
You must have some feelings about our friends.
Last time we dined, Sarah put away 12 potatoes, an entire roast duck, and 4 different tarts. I'm not sure where any of it goes.
Oh, okay. I feel like that could go on forever. So let me try the other questions and then I'll come back to it maybe. So what about our cause?
What do you think of the Inquisition's cause?
Restoring order is a goal I support wholeheartedly. But that's not the end of it, is it? Not by a half. The Lady Seeker believes we are restoring the Chantry. Others say it needs reform. I don't know where you stand on the matter, and I'll admit I haven't made up my mind either.
I don't know. I don't know how Theron's going to react to that yet. Your thoughts on the war?
What do you think about all this trouble between the mages and Templars?
Looking at it from where we stand, it seems inevitable. But that could be hindsight.
Probably.
How many of us actually saw it coming? Either way, I don't think the Chantry will ever recover.
Well, I don't think anyone expected Ainers to blow up a building and... I'm still a little bitter about that one. What about Haven?
What do you think of Haven?
It's a war camp that was once a pilgrim's refuge. It's the state of the world, though, isn't it? Holy ground turned into a battlefield. Pity about that temple. Would have been nice to see it.
I mean, it looked pretty in the distance. Thoughts on my advisors?
What do you think of my advisors?
Cullen. He's got the look of a man who's been through too much. He's seen the best and the worst of humanity. and I think he still struggles with where that leaves him. Still, I trust him to watch my back.
That's a very good summary of Colin, I think. Let's go back to Inner Circle.
You must have some feelings about our friends.
Talked with Solus the other day. That man knows all there is to know about everything.
Right? That's kind of how he presents himself. Okay, let's do a couple more of these.
What do you think of my advisors?
Leliana seems nice. Also a little frightening, but mostly nice.
No one's watching.
You're not saying that for my benefit, are you? Are you so certain you're being watched?
Are you so certain we aren't? I don't want to wake up with a blade in my kidneys if I can help it.
That's great. He's scared of Liliana. I mean, let's be honest. Just kind of scary.
You must have some feelings about our friends.
Sarah doesn't know who she is or what she wants, and doesn't even care.
See if I can get him to talk about Josephine.
What do you think of my...
Cullen,
Okay.
he said, still, I trust him to watch my back.
We should return.
As you wish. You are, after all, in charge.
That's weird. All right. That was a good conversation with him. He seems like a okay kind of guy. Let's talk to Krem. There was one conversation I couldn't get from him.
What can I do for you?
Last time. Let's do. Tell me about the Chargers.
Can we talk about the Bulls' Chargers?
Best company you'll find from here to the Anderfells. In my time with the Chief, we've gone up against everything from bandits to magic trees. We're expensive, but you'll never doubt we're worth it. Want to know anything in particular?
Of course. Tell me of an interesting job.
You said something about everything from bandits to magic trees. I'll admit to some curiosity.
Right. Sylvans. That's what Dalish called them. Apparently spirits can possess trees, too.
Yeah.
Some noble in the Dales, and they really don't like it when you call them Dalish nobles, had a haunted forest. His family had abandoned the land, but he wanted it back. The Chief bought us all axes, and in we went. Between the axes and the torches, the Sylvans weren't too bad. Worst part was the squirrels.
The squirrels. They really don't like it when you call them Dalish nobles. That is hilarious. I'm sorry. I shouldn't find that so funny. But no, it is. What are your abilities?
Do the Chargers specialize in anything from a tactical standpoint?
Bull doesn't want us large enough to work as an army. We're better as shock troops, as skirmishers. We've got archers for hitting enemy infantry, Dalish with more archery, and Skinner and her people on the flanks. Rocky handles fortifications and traps, and Stitches keeps us all fighting. They mostly hold back. I'll lead the frontline fighters with Grim, and the Chief goes wherever he can hit something.
Of course he does. You follow standard rules.
I assume the Chargers observe the standard etiquette.
Absolutely. Clean record and cleared to take jobs in any country you can name. We accept surrenders for ransom from mercenaries, nobles, and soldiers wearing a lord's colours. Our prisoners are treated well, injuries tended. We'd want the same for any of ours who got captured.
We'll talk later.
And can I... No, I can't talk to him. Nope, I can. No, I can't. Okay. Well, I think this is where I'm going to end things for today. I got through what I wanted to get through. I think tomorrow we'll do a visit to the war table. I've got a new Inquisition perk I need to pick out. And then from there, we'll head back to the hinterlands. And I think I know where I want to go explore, but
These truths the Maker has revealed to me.
we'll see if that will work
I
out.
noticed you
One
kept
death.
back to the tent rather
There is
late
but
last
one
night.
God, and he
And
is
if
our
I
Maker.
did, I hope for your sake you aren't sniffing around after that iron bull. I simply wanted to thank him for having his healer give such good advice. We've saved some lives thanks to him. And that's why you're walking so funny. I thanked him a few times. Then later he thanked me back.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
a very grateful night all around. Oh, you're terrible.
She is, isn't she? Oh my goodness. Well, with that, this is where I'm going to end things for today. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe, and I will see you again tomorrow with another new Dragon Age Inquisition video.